Hey everyone, it's Jake at Jake's Metal Chat. Hope you're all well and welcome to episode 93 of my Metal Vault, where I will be exploring and showing you my favorite albums within the world of metal. As well as talking about the albums, I will also be talking about the bands, so a brief history and any releases leading up to the album that I have picked. And we are sticking with the USA for this episode. Last band we covered was Gutted with their album Bleed for Us to Live, and definitely an essential album for any death metal fan. And this one is absolutely essential and just an absolute classic piece of death metal right here. Of course, a lot of us within the VC know this band, know this album, and have seen them quite a number of times. I've seen them quite a few times, and they've never disappoint. And they got a new album coming out, which I cannot wait. Heard one song already. They released as a single, and I'm like, yep, cannot wait. And if you are a fan of this band and you've heard all their latest stuff, then go all the way back to the 90s for this one. This is Immolation, and this is their 1991 debut, Dawn of Possession, and what an absolute beast of an album this is. Released on RC Records back in 1991. There's the band themselves, of course, the list of songs. I think the artwork continues on the back a little, well, a little bit. And CD there. Let's get the booklet out so you can see the artwork on the booklet. And of course, another band picture of the guys. And show a few lyrics. Yeah, an absolute essential album for death metal fans out there. If you have been listening to death metal for a while and you've not come across these guys yet, definitely check this album out. Check out all of their other albums as well. And if you ever get a chance to see them live, do so. Just always put on a great live show. And yeah, just absolutely brilliant stuff right here. But before I can talk about this album in its entirety, let's talk about the band themselves. So, where is Immolation from in the US? They are from Yonkers, New York. They formed in 1988 by Bob and Ross, who, of course, have been in the band since its inception and have had various live band lineups. And the current lineup is Steve on drums since 2003 and Alex on guitar since 2016. And of course, looking at the live members, they did have John McEntee from Incantation in 1999 and then again in 2001. But before Immolation was a band, Bob had another band from 1986 to 1988. Were known as Defcon, but most people will know him by the name of Rigor Mortis. And they released three demos, one in 86, one in 87, and one in 88. And then a single was released in 1990. And then, of course, in the year of 88, they formed Immolation. And then, of course, released three demos before the debut itself. So let's crack on with those demos. So the first one's just called 88 Demo, released on the 5th of July 1988, an independent release. Has two tracks which are on the debut. And of course, you got Ross and Bob on this release, along with Tom Wilkinson, who was in the band was also in Rigor Mortis from 87 to 88, and then was in Immolation from 88 to 2001. And the last album he was on was called Close to a World Below. And then we have Neil on drums, who was there from 88 to 89 and was also on the second demo. I'm pretty sure it's the same lineup before I get to that second demo, which is the self-titled demo. their rehearsal demo from the 6th of March 1989. Which is also independent release. So all the demos are independent releases. And the songs on here are all, of course, on the debut as well. But like I said, it says none on the lineup. But I'm pretty sure it's the same one that was on the 88 demo and the self-titled demo from the 4th of June 1989. And they didn't release anything else in from well between that year of 89 and 1991. Of course, doing shows, a lot of shows around that time. And then in 1991, they did a split with their good friends in Suffocation, also, of course, from New York, and also with Dutch death metal legends Pestilence, and then Texas doom metal legends Solitude Eternus. And of course, they all had one track released on Breaking Barriers Volume 5. And not sure when in 1991 it was released, but somewhere around that year. And then, of course, on the 16th of July 1991, they released this. So this album will be 35 years, yeah, 35 years old on that day. And you better believe I will be hopefully playing it on the actual day it was released, or at least in the month of July. And this was released on RC Records, like I stated earlier. And this is a re-release from 2015. Gonna have a look at which one this is, and think it, yeah, the one I'm looking at, I'm pretty sure this is the one I got. So yeah, looking at the label now because I did have that same sticker with it. So yeah, this is the one I got. And of course, on this one, you got Craig doing drums. He was in the band from 1991 till 1996. The last album he was on was, and also another excellent album of theirs, Here and After, and was also in Gorephobia from 89 to 91, in 99 to 2002, and quite a few other bands as well. And did live drums for Incantation. And also forgot to mention, Ross did live vocals for Incantation in 1990. And has done guest vocals on various other projects, various other bands' albums, for like Cephalic Carnage, Earthburner, Infest, not the Power Violence band, but this is a death thrash metal band. When I looked them up, yeah, death thrash. And the name one more, Soulfly, another great band there as well. And then we have four who did like the producing the photography, logos, art direction, the cover art. So we have Andreas, who did not only the cover art for this, but for Annihilator, for their compilation, Bag of Tricks, and for also Blind Guardian, did Tales from the Twilight World, just to name one album, and Somewhere Far Beyond. And for bands like Crimson Fire, Crystal Viper, Demu Borgare, Elm Street, Gamma Ray, Gravedigger, Hammerfall, Hate Eternal, of course, Immolation, like I mentioned, also for their album Here and After, and of course, the last album that, let me just look that up again, where is it? Tom was on. And to name one more, he also did stuff for Warbringer and just to name one more band, Skyclad. And the album that I've covered on here, A Burnt Offering for the Bone Idol. Then from there we got Renato. I hope that's how that's pronounced. Who is, of course, was in the Australian death doom metal band Disembowelment. He did the original concept for the logo, and also did stuff for obviously when he was in Disembowelment and a couple of other bands as well. And then we have Carl Siegel, who did photography for the band, of course. Show that band picture there as well as the one inside the book. Also for Annihilator, Set the World on Fire, and Obituary Calls of Death, of course, which I have covered here on this series. And also for Pestilence, Testimony of the Ancients. And then we got Harris Johns, who was in a band himself and has done guest stuff for various other bands. Excuse me that. And music stuff, did producing, recording, mixing, mastering, remastering, and for a plethora of bands right here. Many bands. Monomarth, and of course Immolation, Celtic Frost, Corner, his own band, and who else have we got here? Just to name a few more. Enthroned and Gravedigger and Halloween. Yeah, the list goes on here. And just name one more creator for that album, Pleasure to Kill and Terrible Certainty. And then we have Patricia, who did the artwork. Some nice artwork right here. Also for Death Symbolic, Deicides, Deicide and Legion. Gorguts, the art direction for Considered Dead. Motorhead, Obituary, Pestilence, Sepultura, Topo Negative, and also for Solitude Aeternis, who I've mentioned earlier, for their 1991 album Into the Depths of Sorrow, which I do believe, just to double check that, yeah, their debut as well. So they also released that also the same month as Dawn of Possession. Not sure when in July, but in that month of July. And then we got on to Mark, who did the logo, Mark Mastro. Now, a lot of people will know that name if you know his band, but for those that don't, and another band that you should definitely check out, Rotravor. And I still need to get their albums so then I can, well, definitely need it for my collection and try and find everything. Same with this, being collector scum, need the cassette, need the vinyl as well. But yeah, it did the logo for this, and of course, like I mentioned earlier, Renzo did the original concept for the logo. So that's who did like artwork, photography, mixing, mastering. And now let's get on to the songs themselves. So 10 tracks overall. And like with Bleed for Us to Live by Gutted, which had that nice flow, even flow, this also has that same even flow because every song just has that same amount of brutality. Being if it's fast or mid-paced, it's still got that mass amount of brutality. And it all kicks off with the song, which is one of my favorites, along with their second track, which I'll get onto in a minute. So their first track is Into Everlasting Fire. Great opener for the album, and just Ross's vocals sound like he's possessed and quite evil sounding. And yeah, just the this tone of his vocals just fit with that dirty, nasty guitar tone, bass, drums, everything all blends well together. So his vocals with the instruments all just blend well, and it's just an evil, dark sounding album. Just a very evil, evil album, and it continues that on with Despondent Souls, which was actually the first song I ever heard by Immolation. So I found out about these guys back in 2009. So that was trying to think now. How many years ago is that now? I'm blanking on that for some reason, but yeah, some few numbers back now. But what's that? 17 years? I'm going to say about 17 years. Yeah, 17 years. It would have been 17 years when I checked these guys out. So I was trying to do maths in my head, and it just wasn't working. But yeah, that's the first song I ever heard. So yeah, like I said, 2009's around autumn, winter time I found out about Immolation. And I didn't see him first time until I saw him with Marduk at the Fleece in 2016 at the Fleece. And yeah, absolutely just nailed it on stage. And of course, nailed every single song on this album. So, and this song is still continuing on from where Into Everlasting Fire started. And then from Despondent Souls to the title track, Dawn of Possession, still keeping that evil, dark, heavy tone of the album with the guitars, bass, drums, everything, just still keeping up that nasty, evil, dark overtone of the album, and then still continuing on in Those Left Behind. Again, Ross's vocals throughout this entire album is absolutely just evil, nasty, just pure, just heavy. Yeah, just pure, heavy, dark, evil. Yeah, just still keeping that tone, that heavy, dark, evil tone. His vocals on top of the instruments, like I said earlier, it's just blends so well, and it's just makes it that extra evil sounding. And then we get into Eternal Decadence, which is one of the only like the shortest track on the album, where the others are over 3, 4, 5 minutes long. This is 2 minutes and 59 seconds. But with the first four songs, and with, of course, the songs after Eternal Decadence, it's not letting you rest. It's like with just another album that I've covered, The Dead Shall Inherit by Baphomet, an album that with that evil, that heavy, heavy guitars, chunky bass, pounding drums, nasty evil vocal. It's just an album that doesn't let you just rest. And this album is just the same, not letting you rest at all. It's not giving you any time to like just take a breather. It's like straight into the next song, which is No Forgiveness without bloodshed, keeping that evil tone alive, that dark evil tone. And I found footage of these guys playing live back in 1991 when this album was released, and the guitar tone they got on this, they managed to replicate live. And I don't know what amps they were using, what pedals they were using, but they got that tone, and I'm just like, that is a tone I don't think you'll ever hear again. And it's a unique sounding tone, and it just fits the entire album from start to finish. So from that song here, so No Forgiveness Without Bloodshed, you got Burial Ground, still keeping that brutality, still keeping that momentum. Again, if it's sped up or mid-paced, it's still not giving you that time to like, okay, just give me a break. It's not giving you that break. It's giving you, it's just it's just taking you on like a really long ride, and you're like, when's it gonna stop? It's like you still got three more songs until you're like, okay, I can rest now. And then you get on from Burial Ground to After My Prayers, and it's just still the guitar tone, the tone of all the guitars, the bass, drums, and then Ross's vocals on top of that, still keeping that dark tone. It's just, again, I'm gonna say it again, it's a dark, evil sounding album, and that's what I love about it. It's just got that that tone. And then you got Fallen Disease still keeping it going. It's still like, no, we're not done yet. We're almost there, but we're still not done. We still got a bit more to go. And then you get to the last track called Immolation, and then that is just an absolutely perfect ender for this album. So where you got Into Everlasting Fire, which started off the album strong, this ends the album strong. And of course, my favorite tracks being the first track, Despondent Souls, of course, being the first song I ever heard. The self-titled track, Those Left Behind, and Burial Ground, definitely another favorite of mine. But yeah, it's also a quite foreboding album as well. Like being dark, being evil was quite foreboding as well. And it's like, damn, it was taking you on this ride. So it was like, for a song, it's like, okay, wow, this is just absolutely insane. And it's like, okay, might have time for rest. Nope. As soon as Despond Souls comes in, you got the guitar, you got the drums, and then you got Ross's vocals doing that growl and like growls and screams. And it's like when he does his screams, it sounds like he's still doing a growl. So it's like a growl scream, growly scream, and it's just fits the overall tone of the album. And like I said earlier in the video, is an absolute essential for death metal fans, and one that, well, definitely I need every other format of this album. So I've got the CD here, but also the other cassette and vinyl. I don't care how many presents that I get, I definitely need to get it again because I love this album. Just because it's one of my absolute favorites, not just in death metal, but in metal in general, just because the production on this is just it's fantastic. That tone is v- to me a very unique sounding tone. It's like the tone on Severed Survival by Autopsy. That's a very unique sounding tone, which of course I can't remember what amps they were using, but I think after a while they just stopped working and they had to try and, you know, try and get that tone back, but then made their tone a lot more evil sounding. And well, it was already evil sounding, but I think it just made it more evil sounding for um Mental Funeral, which I have covered. But yeah, this tone here, I don't think you'll ever hear that again because obviously their tone has changed over the years. And this is the only album where you will hear that guitar tone and those vocal style of Ross, because obviously his vocals have changed quite a lot throughout the albums, but on here they were just more, again, like I say, possessed. It's very demonic, evil sounding, and it fits that overall, like that just fits everything. Everything just blends well together. And if you love a death metal album that's just dark, evil, and doesn't let you have any time to rest, this is definitely an album for you. And if you've not checked out this album yet, you've not checked out this band yet, highly, highly recommend you do. I cannot wait for the new album to come out. And this album, like I said, it will be 35 years old this year. And yeah, 30, almost 35 years of death metal. But these guys have almost been playing this style of metal for nearly 40 years now. But yeah, this album, absolute perfection. And of course, it's heavy, it's dark, it's evil, it's foreboding, it's atmospheric, it's a timeless classic. Absolutely is a timeless classic. All the albums that I've covered are timeless classics in one way or another. And it's a timeless classic for basically what I've said. And I always tend to repeat myself when I repeat like the tone of the album. But it is that tone. And that's why it's a timeless classic because it has stood the test of time, like so many other albums I've covered. And yeah, nearly 35 years. Definitely an album that is essential to all death metal fans out there. Immolation and Dawn of Possession. And that is it for this episode of my Metal Vault. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for taking the time out of your day, evening, wherever you are in the world. It does mean a lot. Thank you always for the support. And if you do enjoy my content or enjoy this series overall, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment down below to keep up to date with everything I got coming up. So I got so much going on. So again, like, share, comment, subscribe. Got a lot more My Metal Vault episodes to get through and collection updates. And yeah, I just got a lot going on for the channel because I know I've been lacking a lot lately, and I do apologize for that. I've just got so much going on in my life at the moment, but I will keep up. I will do my best to keep up to date with this series because I do enjoy this series, and I will continue to do this series because I got so many more classic albums to show you guys, be it in death metal, black metal, thrash metal, doom metal, sludge metal, heavy metal, whichever genre it is, and whichever band and album it is, it will be covered here. So until then, I have been Jacob Jake's Metal Chat. Keep that banner of metal well and truly high, and I will see you all again in another episode of my Metal Vault.